Hi everybody, I'm going to show you how to do my exfoliating facial scrubbies, and if you want the written pattern, it is on my Etsy shop, which is happyrockcrafts, and the link will be in the description below. For this tutorial, you are going to need a size I crochet hook, which is a 5.5 millimeter. I use Yarnology from Hobby Lobby. The yarn I'm using is Yarn Bee Scrubology Scrub It from Hobby Lobby as well. And this is lemon. And then of course you need scissors, a yarn needle, and that is it. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is make a magic circle. If you are not comfortable doing the magic circle, you can chain 3 and you can work the first round in the first chain. You would just be working 10 half double crochets into that first chain and then joining to your first half double crochet. Otherwise, this is how I do the magic circle. This is my working yarn here, and this is my tail yarn. So I take my tail yarn and I just put it behind my working yarn, and then I pinch it, and that is my magic circle. So now I'm just going to pinch it with my other fingers so I can wrap my yarn around my hand, and then I'm going to re-pinch it. And now I'm going to work 10 half double crochets in the center of this circle. So I'm going to grab that yarn and bring it through, and then I'm going to chain 1. That chain 1 is not going to count as a stitch. And now I'm going to work 10 half double crochets in the center of this circle. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the center, yarn over, bring that through. I have 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and go through all 3 loops. And that counts as a half double crochet, and we want to do 10. So that's 1. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And if ever at any time when you're working the magic circle and your circle gets too big, you can just put your fingers in the center of that circle and just tug on that tail a little bit just to tighten that circle just a little bit. Now, I recommend that you double check and make sure you have your 10 half double crochets before you join. So I like to make sure I have that. So I have 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I also recommend that you join with a slip stitch to your first stitch before you tighten your circle. And the reason being is sometimes when you tighten that circle, it's hard to see where that first stitch was. So I'm going to go ahead and join with a slip stitch to my first half double crochet. Once I do that, I just put my fingers in the center, I grab my tail, and I pull that nice and tight. And there's our magic circle, nice and closed. So now round 2 for our exfoliating facial scrubbies. We're going to chain 2. So 1 and 2. That chain 2 does not count as a stitch. That is just there to give us height. Now everybody does all of their stitching different. My dog's trying to go underneath. And I'm going to show you how to do the Bullion Stitch, how I do it. I wrap my yarn 6 times around my hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I'm going to insert my hook into that same joining stitch. And then I'm going to yarn over, bring that yarn through that joining stitch. And then I move my fingers to the base of these loops. And then I'm going to take that same yarn that I just pulled through the stitch. I'm going to take that and I'm going to go underneath each loop until I have 2 loops left on my crochet hook. And you'll notice when I go underneath each of those loops, I tug up a little bit with my hook, and that's just to give me a little extra yarn when I get to the last 2 loops. And I'm moving my fingers as well, and this just helps me work those loops off. And now I'm down to the last 2 loops on my hook, so I'm going to yarn over and go through the last 2 loops. And that's my first bullion. And we want to work 2 bullion stitches into each of these half double crochets. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap my yarn 6 times again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to insert my hook into that same stitch. I'm going to yarn over and bring that through, and then I'm going to move my fingers to the base of those loops. In that yarn I just brought through, I'm going to bring that underneath each loop until we have 2 loops left on our hook. And you'll notice I'm tugging up a little bit with my hook as I go under each loop. That just gives us a little extra yarn when we get to the last 2 stitches. Now I'm back down here to the last 2 loops. I'm going to yarn over and go through those last 2 loops. And there's our first 2 bullion stitches in that first stitch. So you're going to want to make 2 bullions into each of these half double crochets. So let's do the next one again. We're going to wrap our hook 6 times with the yarn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Inserting our hook into the next stitch. We're going to yarn over, bring that yarn through, and now we're going to move our fingers over here to the base of those loops. And that yarn that we just brought through, we're going to bring that underneath each loop until we have 2 loops left on our hook. And you will notice I am tugging up with my hook after I go underneath each loop. That just gives me that little bit of extra yarn at the end. And I move my fingers as well, and that just kind of helps me work those loops off. And now I'm down to the last 2 loops. I'm going to yarn over and go through them last 2 loops. And now we're going to work 1 more bullion stitch in that same stitch. So wrap your yarn 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Insert your hook into that same stitch. Yarn over, bring that through. And now you're going to bring that yarn you just brought through underneath each loop until you have 2 loops left on your crochet hook. And I'm just tugging up after I go underneath each of those loops. And now I'm down to the last 2 loops. I'm going to yarn over and go through the last 2 loops. So now you're going to want to continue to work 2 bullion stitches into each of those stitches all the way around. And I will meet you back once I get to the end here. So go ahead and pause your video and then come back when you're done with this round. Okay, I've just completed my round 2 of our exfoliating facial scrubby, and you should have a total of 20 bullion stitches, and that is 2 bullion stitches into each of those half double crochets around. And now you're going to join with a slip stitch to that first bullion stitch. So you're just going to insert your hook underneath those 2 loops like so. Yarn over, bring that yarn on through, and there you go. So now our round 3, you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to slip stitch into the next bullion stitch, and you're going to chain 1, and you're going to slip stitch into the next one, and chain 1, and you're going to continue to do this all the way around. So we're just slip stitching and chaining 1 into each of the bullion stitches. This gives it a cute little decorative look, little border, cute decorative trim, and I think it looks great with the bullion stitch because the bullion stitch is so elegant looking. So it just gives it that little extra. And then you can use this for your face. It's a good facial exfoliating scrubby. You can also use it to clean dishes, any type of cleaning. You can use it for your body. It's great. It's 100% nylon. I have a couple already in my house that we use, and I've been using them for over a year. They hold up really well. I just love these. And remember, if you want the written pattern, it's just on my Etsy shop at happyrockcrafts. And I'll put that link in the description box below. If you like my video, please do a like for me and go ahead and subscribe because I am going to add more videos to my channel. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. And if there's anything that you want to see, let me know. So now we have 1 bullion stitch left. I'm going to slip stitch there, chain 1, And then I'm going to join to that first one. So I'm just going to insert my hook underneath there, yarn over, bring that yarn through, and work my slip stitch. And that is our scrubby. Nice and simple. So you're just going to fasten that off and weave in your ends. So I just snip my yarn, take this yarn and bring it through, and that is it. And then you just weave in your ends. And that's the back view. So it's got these nice little hanging loops. And this is the front. Thank you guys so very much for watching my video, and make sure to subscribe if you like this video. Thanks.